In Rise of Kingdoms, with your equipment, you have got 3 options. You can forge, refine, or awaken your equipment. And today, I'll be doing a full guide on awakening equipment, taking some knowledge from some of the best players I know in Rise of Kingdoms, and putting it into a nice video format. So if you're interested in how to start awakening your equipment, because it's a very, very new and can be a very expensive system, for the open field, you want to awaken your equipment, this will be the best video for you. So trust me, you'll want to stick around till the end, as you'll get a full breakdown of why awakening equipment is good, and the best order to awaken your equipment for the open field. So now, before we get into the guide and I break down everything, quick shout out to Shinronin. He let me use this. I've asked him a while ago now. I was going to make this video a while back. I didn't end up doing it. I am doing it now. He is the person that made most of the guide today, so big shout out to him. I didn't know much about Awakening. I personally haven't done too much Awakening yet, but he was a massive player. When Awakening first came out, he had the best archer set in the game. He had like a fully awakened set pretty much, so he is the person that made this guide. It is pretty much the top tier information you're going to get from one of the biggest spenders in 1534. So thank you very much to Shinronin for letting me use this guide. And without further ado, let's get into it. So now the first thing I am going to talk about is the benefits of awakening your equipment over refining it. This is kind of a bit of a contentious issue. This is something I hear a lot between players, is should I awaken or should I refine my equipment? And I'm going to give you a very simple answer. Most people in almost every situation should just awaken their equipment. And the reason is super simple. Awakening equipment gives you guaranteed value. No matter what you do, no matter how many resources you spend on awakening your equipment, you're guaranteed to get something in return. However, if you refine your equipment and you're going for a special talent, there's no guaranteed value for the first 3 refinements. That means that you pretty much have a chance of just getting screwed over, and your blueprints go to nothing and your materials go to nothing. And you've wasted 60 million gold that doesn't do anything until you finally get that talent. So when it comes to refining equipment, it is technically better value if you get a full refine on the first go. You get that massive boost to the stats on the piece of equipment. But if you don't get that boost and you've spent those resources, they're pretty much there as an upgrade that literally does nothing until you reach that talent. So it could be 1 upgrade, it could be 2, 3, or 4. And if it is 4 upgrades, you're waiting a very long time to do that. So that's the real reason you would prefer an awaken over refines. It does give more guaranteed value. It is a little bit cheaper on the materials, and in my opinion is higher value for free-to-play lower spenders. If you are very close to a talent on something, so maybe you did refine a few pieces of equipment before the release of the Awakening system, maybe you're at like a level 75, it is worth finishing that refinement. I wouldn't say don't do it. If you're at level 25, maybe I wouldn't finish it, but even then you've put enough resources in where I would say it's worth finishing a refinement. But if anything's at a refinement level 0, completely ignore it. I wouldn't go back and even look at it because there is almost no point in doing so. So if anything is not a high refinement level or not refined at all, I just wouldn't worry about those pieces of equipment, and I would only work towards awakening them, since that's going to give you the biggest impact on your account. So now the next thing I would like to talk about are some of the costs that come with awakening equipment and what you should try to focus to get. First of all, each tier of awakening, tier 1 to 5, you're going to need a blueprint. That is a guarantee for each tier. You need 1 fully formed blueprint to get to the next tier. Now that's probably the most expensive part of awakening your equipment, and it is going to be the biggest bottleneck for most players. I find that I get blueprints a little bit slower than I do get equipment, so I get resources to make equipment, materials, because I find that my blueprints, I end up spending more gems on them than I do on materials. That's just my personal style. Some people may find they get blueprints faster than materials, but really the main thing you're going to look at is you're going to need some form of materials or blueprints to get to the next level. Each level is going to require 1 blueprint all the way up to level 5, and then they're also going to gradually cost more and more materials. You should keep that in mind. Tier 1 to 2 is 20 materials on a weapon and 15 on a normal piece of equipment. Tier 2 to 3 is 20 pieces of legendary materials on a normal piece of equipment, and it's going to be 35 on your weapon. Tier 3 to 4, I think, is 35 on your normal pieces of equipment and 50 on the weapon. And then Tier 4 to 5 is 80 on the legendary weapon, and I think 50 on the normal weapon. I've got the costs up on screen. The gear is only for the weapons, but also accessories. Tier 1 to 2, we're looking at 35 legendary materials and 1 blueprint. Tier 2 to 3, we're looking at 50 legendary materials and a blueprint. Tier 3 to 4, we're looking at 70 legendary materials and a blueprint. And Tier 4 to 5, we are looking at 100 legendary materials. So you can see, definitely very expensive to level these up, which is why I'm going to say another thing. I would make sure you've got all your legendary equipment for your best 3 marches in order before you even consider refining anything. I've only refined very niche pieces of equipment because, well, I'm never going to make another Dragon Breath chestplate. And my Boudica Prime, who I didn't mean to make these gloves for, isn't fully legendary out yet. So until I get a full legendary set of my Boudica, I'm not interested in touching anything of her equipment. But once that's done, I will start to refine all my 3 best gear sets to make them officially the strongest I can. So until you've got your legendary gear in order, don't even consider refining. It doesn't make sense purely because of the cost that I've shown you now. For example, to get from tier 4 to 5 for your legendary weapon, you can make a whole extra weapon. It doesn't make sense. The boost you get is nice on Furious Strike, but it is not strong enough to be worth a whole extra weapon, especially considering all the other tiers combined is like another 2 legendary weapons. So you're pretty much adding the cost of 5 legendary weapons worth of blueprints and 3 worth of materials into something for a smaller boost. It doesn't make sense. I'd really ensure that you've at least got a full legendary equipment set on all your marches before you do start refining, because it just does not make sense for any account. That being said, now that we've looked over the cost of refining and you've got a full legendary set on all of your marches, this is the order I would refine my equipment in. First of all, we're going to begin by taking everything to level 2. Getting everything at level 2 is just really good to start, because you're going to get base stats off it. Every single piece of equipment is pretty much giving the same level of base stats, besides weapons and accessories give a little bit more, or mainly weapons, because they cost more to upgrade. That's the only difference between getting things to level 2. All your equipment should be level 2. Keep in mind today, whenever I tell you to do an upgrade or I'm giving you the guide, make sure that you're doing this on all your marches. I wouldn't go ahead and get one march all the way to level 2 and then do the next upgrade I tell. I would get every single march you own to level 2 on all their legendary equipment. This is because with the first level you're doing, this level 2 level is the best value for your account. You're getting the most value per material, the most value per gold spent. All of that is at the most value you can get, because as you get higher up, it is only going to get more expensive. So getting everything to level 2 to begin with is a really good baseline. If you don't know where to start, just start there, and it's a perfectly good position. From there, we're mainly going to focus on pieces of equipment which allow us to deal more damage on the open field. It's quite simple as that. And to begin with, we're mainly going to start off by getting a few things to level 4. The first 2 things I would focus, and I would focus on these at the same time, would be your helmet and your weapon. You can also choose to do the legs and also the weapon. I think either one of those are pretty viable, but in my opinion, the helmet is a better option to begin with, just because it is giving health at the start. You're getting 500 capacity and you're getting damage to troops on the map, while legs, they're giving you an ignoring of enemy health, which is nice, but you're already going to have that. I mean, really, they're just the same thing. So, like, you can just pick whichever one you want, but I just personally would just do the helmet. I find they're easier to get, but that's just personal experience. So, you pick whichever one you prefer out of those 2 pieces of equipment, and then you'll just upgrade the bow with it, whatever weapon you have. And that's because when you get to level 4, you're dealing more damage. It's just as simple as that. On all 3 pieces of these equipment, at level 4, you're dealing all damage to troops on the map, whether it be rallies or enemies in the open field. And since this is mainly an open field guide, we are looking at open field damage. So getting all these up to level 4 is a really good position to start, and I do that in all your marches once again. So example for me, Zhu Lang, his equipment, I'd have everything at level 2, and then my helmet, bow, and legs will be at level 4, and then my Henry, helmet, bow, and legs will be level 4, and then my Boudica, helmet, bow, and legs will be level 4, before I move on to the next stage. From there, you've got a few decisions. You can either decide to go and get your boots up to level 4 as well to get more march speed. You can level your shirts up to level 4 as well if you are looking to get a little bit of swarm damage if you're swarming rallies, and that's really your 2 options. So in my opinion, if you're open fielding mainly, boots to level 4 will be your 4th objective. So you go helmet, weapon, legs, and then you do your boots to level 4, and that's going to be leaving you in a very good position. From there, it's really up to you whether you do accessories or you do the chest plate. In my opinion, accessories are slightly better, purely because they're level 5 is going to be a little bit better. But that being said, accessories are really difficult to get the blueprints for, so you're probably going to level up that chest plate to level 4 as well, but keep in mind it's mainly there for swarming down rallies. So now that we've leveled up our equipment to what I would call stage 2, this is what each set of your legendary equipment should look like. Helmet, weapon, legs, and boots should all be level 4. Chestplate is either level 3 or level 4 or level 5. It's not the most important, it's going to be like the last thing we upgrade. Gloves are level 2 and your accessories are either level 1 or level 4. From there, we're going to start moving into some of the more powerful level 5 equipment. And the reason we're doing it last is because even though it's more powerful, it's technically lower on overall average stats, which is why it is going to come last. So once we move in towards the level 5 stuff, some of the things we're not really going to take to level 5. First of all, the gloves are never going to go to level 5. It is not worth it. I wouldn't be putting any points in there. From there, if you don't have your gloves at level 4 already, I just probably wouldn't take them to level 5. I wouldn't even take them past level 2, so your accessories, because at level 2, they're pretty much in a good position. If you do have them at level 4 though, you can take them to level 5, but keep in mind, level 4 on the accessories and the chestplate, mainly for swarming rallies, and that is pretty much it. So if you're swarming rallies, these 3 pieces of equipment are worth upgrading, but otherwise I would ignore them and they're just not worth it. So that means the best order from here is I would get the bow to level 5, which is going to allow you to deal more damage, and the helmet also level 5, because again, it's going to allow you to deal more damage. And finally, I'd get the legs to level 5, because that's just going to allow you to take a little bit less damage. And then finally, your final piece of upgrading equipment will be chestplate up to level 5, so that you have a 10% chance to gain 5% counterattack whenever you're attacked, which is just going to give you a nice little bit of anti-swarm. And that means if you are finally done with your equipment, it should look something like this. Helmet, chestplate, bow, legs, all level 5. Gloves, level 2. Boots, level 4. We're not going to get level 5 because it is nice, the outside of territory stuff, but it's a bit more subjective. I don't know if it's worth those blueprints. You can decide there. That's more up to you. In my opinion, I'd rather save them. So level 4 boots is fine because you're going to have a 5% all the time march speed boost, which is immaculate. And then you've got level 2 gloves, most likely level 2 accessories, and you're completely done. The thing is with level 5 accessories, they're very, very expensive. So unless you've got a lot of spare resources and a lot of spare blueprints, they are just not worth going for, and they will not be the most valuable. So just as a final quick breakdown of the proper equipment order here, this is the complete order you're going to follow. First of all, every single piece of legendary equipment on all of your marches should go to level 2. While you're doing that, focus on getting your special talented ones upgraded first, because special talented pieces of equipment will get slightly better iconic attributes, so you might as well get those earlier. So level up the special talented pieces to level 2 before you level up the normal pieces, since you're going to get slightly better boost, and it is just worth it. From there, you'll take the helmet, the bow, the legs, all to level 4 to give yourself more damage on the open field, and then you would take the boots and also your chestplate to level 4 as well. Finally, you will take the helmet, chestplate, bow, and legs to level 5, boots will stay at level 4, gloves will stay at level 2, and accessories will only go to level 5 if you have a lot of excess resources, because otherwise they are much too expensive. The last thing I will say is when it comes down to these boots, you may not need the march speed as a cav main. So if you find that you're already much too fast as a cav main, you can ignore the boots upgrade. All troop types have the same iconic upgrades except with different stats. So for example, cavalry troops will get cavalry attack instead of archer attack. I can pull it up right now. So really that's the only difference that it comes with troop types. It just changes the stat type. You don't actually get any extra or new stats. So all the stats are completely the same. So everything I said is across the board. So as you can see here, infantry get defense here, whereas archers, they pretty much just get attack. So that's the only real difference. It changes the stat type, but you're still going to get the exact same buffs in terms of overall stats. So for example, you'll still get march speed on even the cav boots. So everything's going to give you the same stuff except different stats. That's the only change. So when it comes down to calves, you may not need that march speed. You can choose to leave boots at just level 2 and it wouldn't be too insane. Or with infantry and archers, you might find that march speed is more valuable to you and you do take them to level 5. Again, that is more up to you and what you feel your murderable is. Is it too fast? Is it too slow? Whatever it may be, you make that decision based on your marches and also crystal tech spending and stuff like that. Often you might have enough march speed or not enough. So make your decision based on that. That's why this is a little bit more of a subjective one. I say level 4 is always good all around, but maybe for a cav march you don't need it. That decision is up to you. So now that we've made it to the end of today's video, if you are someone who is a little bit still confused about this equipment system and you want some more advice, I highly recommend joining my Discord server. My Discord server is going to be the place where I discuss everything to do with equipment, and it's a very good way to get in contact with me. So if you have any questions about anything to do with your equipment, really easy to just DM me on there, send me some pictures, or send it in the questions section on my Discord, and either me or some of the high level tier players in there will respond. So if you're interested in getting some one-to-one advice for your account, maybe you've got some issues with your troop types, maybe some issues with your equipment and refining it, whatever it is, join the Discord server, link in the pinned comment and also in the description. Trust me, you will not regret it. Now, I just want to say thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.